I was able to deploy from my MDT server. And that's what this video is about. This video is about creating uh, a Windows 10 golden image and deploying it. Well, not necessarily a golden image, but just creating a Windows 10 and deploying it with MDT. Right, that's and the version of MDT that I'm using is MDT version 443. I'm gonna sign in here so I could see it. So, my setup here, I'm at home, I'm not at work. It is a little more complex than typical home users. Um, I actually have a domain server environment here, simply because I work in the IT field, right? It helps me, um, learn more, know what I'm doing, at least act like I know what I'm doing. All right, so MDT, let's start it up. You can see here I have um, an older version. So if I go down here and look at this, you'll see that I have an older version. I believe the current one is 8456, if I'm not mistaken. That is the current one. So this is probably one or two versions behind. The operating system that I'm actually going to deploy is actually, it looks like it's codenamed 20H2. So that's the one that I currently have. That's what I'm going to deploy with this particular version of MDT. I already have my MDT uh, installed. My 80K, as you know, you need 80K for MDT. My 80K for this version of MDT is already installed. Um, so let's get started. All right, one thing that I don't have here is my shares. And I'm going to look at my user account here. Just double check something. Service accounts, MDT. Let's go back here. Did not have it. Let's put it there. So that part is not required for what we're doing. It's just, as you can see here on my MDT server, it's missing the shared drives. And my shared drives are mapped with that VBS script. So I could manually go and run it where the sysvol path is, but I want to do it the easy way. Sign out, sign back in, and there are my shared drives. Okay. My files, my scan, my movies, and it doesn't have the user because it doesn't need one. It's a service account. All right. So we are going to jump in it. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. New virtual machine. Here I'm Usoft Hyper-V VM. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's give it a name. Windows 10 x64 20H. Yeah, let's do that. Typically don't like to use space, but that's fine. All right, where do I have my VMs? I have them in C virtual machines. Okay, that's where it's gonna go. C virtual machines. All right, it's gonna be generation 2. All right, let's give it, I think 2 gigs should be fine. All right, 2048. 4096. Let's give it 4 gigs. 2 gigs should be fine, but I have plenty of RAM, so plenty of memory, so I could do it. 144 gigs of memory. All right, so I'm gonna click next. Connection. My only Hyper-V adapter there. Hard drive. Let's just bring that down. Shouldn't need more than 40, so that should be fine. Yep, install OS later. Finish. All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and edit. Typically, what I'd like to do, may have to take this off, so I'm going to take off secure boot for now. Let's give it 2 processors. And we're going to add SCSI adapter for a DVD. We're going to point to the image. Here's my ISO recently downloaded in November, right in this month. So I'm going to click open. It's going to show me my file. And click OK. Connect. And I believe that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. Sometimes I change the boot order, but I don't think I need that for this. So I'm not going to boot from my, you can see that's my WDS. So not booting from my WDS, booting from the ISO. Here we are. I'm going to click next, just as if you were doing a typical Windows 10 installation, the same default. I'll say I don't have a product key. It's going to give me all the options here. I'm going to install Pro because I wanted to add it to my domain. And I'm going to click next. Accept the license agreement. Clean installation. And here you could, do the partitioning if you want, however you'd like. But here I'm just going to click. Okay, so here we are. It's finished installed, and it's now at the very first part of the setup process. So typically, at this point, I would like to do a checkpoint. So here I'm going to do a checkpoint at this stage. Once that checkpoint shows up here, there we go. We know if anything happens, I could revert to this point. So I always like to create a checkpoint before I proceed. Now that the checkpoint is created, I am going to go into what's called audit mode. I always like to go into audit mode. So the way you do that is to first make sure you're in the VM. So click on the title here so you're in that screen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold down Control, hold down Shift, and I'm going to press the F3 key on your keyboard. Hold down Control, hold down Shift, press the F3. And you can see it's now going to go in audit mode. And if you don't know what audit mode is, this is not a requirement. This is just how I do it. Just Google audit mode, right? Audit mode, Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 7, whichever version you have. Just do audit mode, and it will tell you what it does. I know there are some IT professionals that do not use the audit mode. In fact, this is not a requirement. But for me, it's just um, I like to do it that way. Some configurations work with the audit mode versus other mode. So, play around with it, test it. That's the whole point of you having a lab, right? So you could test it, see what works. So this is how I do it, right? All right, so just waiting for it to boot up, and basically it's going to sign in with the default administrator account. Um, that's not new. Mhm. So we'll just go ahead and wait on it here, and you could hear me play some music. Oh, okay. Guess the computer didn't want you to hear me play the music as much. It's already here. All right. So here we are. Typically, I like to say no here, even in the domain trusted network. I like to say don't no, and then cancel this window. And look at this. I'm not sure if you guys are aware. You see, Edge is the new latest version of Edge is automatically installed. Um, I remember when I was deploying some Windows at uh, at my last employment. Um, I think the old version of Edge was still installed, but now the new one is now installed. So you can see they're slowly migrating away from the Edge browser that did not work, and obviously this one is based on the same um, browser as Google Chrome, right? So if you look at the interface, they're kind of similar, but what I've been seeing more and more is that this version of Edge actually works when Google Chrome does not work. So if you guys haven't tried a new version of Edge, give it a try. It's pretty good. All right, so here I am in audit mode. This is where um, install the default apps that takes a lot of time, or any updates that takes a lot of time post imaging, right? You want to do that here. You want to capture it. That way, all of those steps are already completed. So when you go to deploy your application, deploy the image to a new laptop or existing laptop, um, that part is at least complete, right? Some technicians, and this is where you install stuff that can be automated, right? So maybe you have an application that, it needs certain things, but you cannot automate it post imaging. Install it here, and just leave out some of those steps that you have to manually do, um, and go from here. So here I am going to customize this a little. I'm not sure if this taskbar preference is going to hold. Typically it doesn't, but hey, why not? Let's give it a try. Let's get rid of that. Don't need it. Search, I'm going to change that to hidden. Yep, that way I have more space here on my taskbar. That's more important. You could always type in search, so I mean, just having that extra search functionality just takes away from my taskbar space. So I hate that. Again, you could click on start and just start typing, and it searches anyway. Um, all right, so if I had like Microsoft Office Suite, I would install it here. But I don't have Microsoft Office Suite, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do the next thing that you typically do here is check for updates, right? You want to make sure the system is up to date. And obviously, I downloaded this right 3 days ago. um, so this should be up to date for the most part. It may get a few AV updates, um, you know, uh, but that's about it. All right, so yep, I'll let that complete. Yep, so Microsoft Defender, right, the AV update, and here it's getting a .NET Framework update, um, which, I want to go check on Control Panel. Let's see, is it still, yeah, it's still here. All right, a few things I want to do here as well. I want to get UAC, let's take that down. Sometimes it could be really annoying. Yeah, let's get that all the way down there. And let's see how we are with .NET Framework. All right, so I do need 3.5. I don't have anything now that needs 3.5, but it's just good. I'm not sure why it's not checked. But if you're going to deploy this to a regular user, definitely get that 3.5 because some application is dependent on the latest version of .NET Framework as well as that 3.5 version. So I'm not sure why it's not included, but um, I am going to go ahead and check it. All right, so let's see. Let Windows download the files for me. Let's see if this is going to work. So again, this part is optional, but again, if you're going to use this on a day-to-day basis, if this is a Windows 10 PC you're going to be using on a day-to-day basis, um, then just get .NET Framework 3.5, right? It's not going to hurt. Chances are it's not going to take up a lot of space, so just get it and be over with. Then to run into issues where you need it later on and it end up corrupts the installation because that's one of the things with .NET Framework. It could get corrupted when you try to do it later on, but just do it now, get it out of the way, um, and uh, and go from there. All right. Downloading required files. Wow, I can't believe it. We're at 21 minutes already. Oh, okay. So, seems like this video is going longer than I expected. So, let's go. Looks like I'm gonna have to split this up. So let's do different parts. Let's go ahead and stop here.